wife let my dog out.
Okay. Oh, animals are always welcome here.
All right.
All right, what's up, everybody? Steven here, the Horror Freak 85, here with our special guest tonight, Brett Kelly, director, actor, writer. He does it all. How are you?
Good,
So,
man. Thanks for having me.
yep. While we wait, get some people in here. I was checking out some movies here on Tubi. I figured I'd let everybody know what they can check out here. We got Conga TNT at the top of the list when we
Yep.
search up your name. Then we got Jurassic Shark, of course. Countryside, which I want to get into later, that you wrote, directed, and or no, you didn't act in that one. Wrote and directed that one. Thor, Thunder and Steel is up there.
I'll need you to remind me sometimes.
Then we got Rise of the Black Bat. Those I haven't watched yet, but I'm going to check them out eventually. We got Ouija Shark up next. Skyfall. Was it? What's weird? It brought up some movies too that like with similar names. Which one was yours again? Hell at the Heels or The Last Outlaw? I forget which one.
Hell at My Heels is mine. Yeah.
Okay. Then we got Gasket.
Jesse James Wellman. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Jesse James Wellman is on there. Ghastlies, which was funny. I enjoyed that. We'll get into that too. Agent of Justice. Homicycle. Say that correctly. Pirates.
I thought you were going to say Hell Asylum.
Let's see. Pirates was a good one. I watched that. Then we got Feral Man, which you acted in as well. I had watched that a while ago. I didn't rewatch it, but I somewhat remember that one. Let's see. The Giant Leeches, or Attack of the Giant Leeches is on there.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Friend Popping the Popcorn is here, and she says hello. So hi. She was gonna come on, but she had to switch at work. She might be on later if you're still on. I'm not sure how long we're going to last here, but she might stop in. Let's see. And we also got the Bone Setters on there and Returns. My Dead Girlfriend. I found that quite funny too. My Fair Zombie. Final Curtain. Let's see. And I think the others at the bottom were just other random movies. Let's see. Yep. So
yeah, it's weird how they started doing that, where other movies come up with my name on it.
I think what it is, there's like someone like if they have the name Kelly or something mixed in, it just randomly. I don't know how they do that. It's weird. So let's see. What time is it here? About a minute. Okay. So once it signs up, let's see. Katie said, "My Dead Girlfriend was funny." Yeah, you've done a lot of you've done a lot of zombies and shark movies and creature features and supernatural. Do you have a preference towards any genre, or you just enjoy doing them all?
I guess I've heard some people say that I won't be happy unless I've done all of them at least once. So as long as it's something I think if it's something I liked when I was a kid, I'll probably like it.
Yeah.
I'm still a child at heart, and so anything I liked when I was young.
Yeah. So basically, all that stuff you liked when you're young. Any certain movies or shows or actors inspire you to do what you do?
Yeah. So I guess when I was a kid, when I was around 7 or 8, and my friends and I saw Star Wars and stuff like that, we would run out to the front yard and pretend we had video cameras. Well, not even video cameras. We pretend we had film cameras because when I'm old enough that it would have been film cameras, and we used to try to scour our attics to see if any of our grandparents or anything had cameras that we could actually make movies with, and we never ever did. So we just pretended we were making a Star Wars movie or Indiana Jones or something like that. So that's kind of the stuff that I liked, and a lot of the Star Wars kind of knockoff films, which leads to my my most recent thing, Galaxy Warriors. is based entirely on the fact that when I was 7 or 8, I wanted to make a space movie, kind of like Star Crash or Battle Beyond the Stars. So we finally did that in 2020 to 2022, something like that, for Galaxy Warriors, which is coming out in around pre-order start in June for VHS and DVDs and Blu-rays.
Okay. What's the site that we can check that out on if we want to pick up a copy of that?
It's the link's not up yet, but I know SRS Cinema is doing the Blu-rays, and Lunch Meat VHS is doing the VHSs.
Okay. Nice. Yeah, I saw that in the Internet Movie Database, and it said any description. So I was going to ask. I guess that's the next movie of yours coming out. So, all right. Let's see. When you were growing up, what classes did you take? Were you in drama, TV productions, any of those?
Yeah, I was a drama kid, kind of in like grade 11 and 12, or I guess that's what we call them in Canada. What do you guys call? Do you guys call it 12th grade or 11th? Like, I don't know. Anyway, it was 11th and 12th grade here. We were in drama, and I did a lot of improv stuff and a lot of improv comedy, and I still do some improv comedy here and then. And I took TV broadcasting at Algonquin College, and that's where I learned the tricks to how to operate a camera and how to light a scene and all sort of things like that. So, and then I took theater at the University of Ottawa as well.
Okay. So besides taking theater at the university, have you done any theater outside of the school?
Tons, tons. As a matter of fact, the local community theater here, Canada Theater, I got my start, and I did from like 96 until 2002 or something. I did, probably 20 or 30 plays. And then I actually met my wife doing one of the plays. And then we started doing theater professionally in about 2016 or 2017. And we did a My Fair Zombie as a live stage show, and we sold out. And we did other projects that I wrote that aren't films. We did a play version of Scary Poppins, and we did Phantom of the Opry, which was a country and western version of Phantom of the Opera, and stuff like that. So, and we had a lot of fun with it, and it paid the bills as well. And we're hoping to get back into that once the post-pandemic sort of, people are willing to go back to the theater again.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's starting to get a little bit better, but it's still the last few years that just really messed it up for everything. So plays and acting and going out. And so,
for sure.
Never thought. I mean, it's like prior to that, so many movies like Carriers, The Stand, all these pandemic movies. Never thought I would really live through one like that. So, but
yeah, it's true.
It's like write a movie about what's going on now. But yeah, I'm glad conventions are starting back up. And so, do you have any plans to go to any conventions anytime soon, or do you do those at all?
I just did Shock Stock in London, Ontario. I had a great time. People were out, like you say, en masse. There's a lot of people, lots of supportive people, lots of fans. I signed a lot of DVDs. I hung out with Michelle Bauer from Hollywood Chainsaw Hookers, and she was great. And she and I have been talking about maybe doing some other shows. So, we're hoping that there'll be some other ones coming up. There's talk about some local Canadian ones, and but I'm thinking about trying to get some American shows to book me, and maybe even consider if they want some musical entertainment to see if they'll bring my band down and kind of cross mix my my fan bases and see what happens, and see the horror fans and see the music fans.
Nice. There is a convention that they're going to be doing their third one, June 9th through 11th, which I'll be working that one too. It's their third one, called Spookala. It's in Ocala, Florida. They also have bands there and everything. Spence from Ice Nine Kills, he played there. His girlfriend Nadia was there, who does the music videos. Corey Feldman was just at the last convention. He played too. So it's kind of a convention, also musical fest. So I don't know, something you might want to look into for within the next year or two, maybe. So
tell them you want me. Tell them you want me. I'll come on down.
So absolutely. Yeah, I'll definitely recommend you. So I'll let Deej know, and who knows, maybe you can work something out for the next one. I know too soon for June. They're doing one in October, and then I'm sure next year too. I mean, they're getting bigger each one. So Yeah, so they're almost.
Awesome.
I'm sure you've heard of Spooky Empire, right? In Orlando, Spooky
Yes.
Empire. Okay,
Yes.
yeah, they're almost
Pittsburgh?
as getting. I'm sorry, what?
Is it Pittsburgh?
No,
No,
Orlando.
Orlando. Okay.
Yeah, it's in Orlando. So I mean, they're almost getting as big as them, which is pretty cool. I mean, it's nice to see, they're getting bigger, more support. So, but yeah, I'll definitely let you know, and I'll talk to them, and who knows, maybe in a couple of years if everything goes well. You did say you were in a band. What was the
Sure.
band's name?
I'm in a band called Gelatin Skeleton, and skeleton is spelled like gelatin. Hey, where's my coffee mug? Can you grab me that? It's easier to show than to spell. But yeah, it's 80s style arena rock glam metal sort of thing, kind of like keeping the flame alive for bands like Poison and Faster Pussycat and things like that. But we play all original Gelatin Skeleton. We play all original music. We have a bunch of videos on YouTube and Spotify and things like that. So if anyone's interested, they could check out all that stuff as I play with my hair.
Nice. It's the heavy metal hair band. That's right. You're just going with it there.
That's right.
So
if I can still keep my hair, I might as well, right?
Exactly. So I saw also, since you say you were in band, Heavy Metal Werewolf. You played a singer in that. I didn't get a chance to see it. That's been released, right? Heavy Metal Werewolf.
Basically, Heavy Metal Werewolf was going to be a feature film, kind of like a Black Roses type movie, and then we filmed the introductory scene, and then the whole thing kind of didn't really happen. So I had a song called Heavy Metal Werewolf, so we used all the footage and we basically made it a music video. So that's on YouTube as part of the music video. We also made it into a short film, but I prefer the way it looks in the music video because the pacing's better. Because we didn't intend it to be an entire film by itself. We intended it to be the opening scene. So it works better in the context of the music video. So.
Okay.
But
so
it did play a film festival. Yeah.
Okay. I'll have to check that out. So your YouTube channel, was just search your name, or do you have a name for your YouTube?
At the moment, it's called Great Chance Entertainment. And yeah, if you searched Gelatin Skeleton or Heavy Metal Werewolf, it'll probably come up, I imagine.
Okay. All right. So again, I mentioned all the genres that you've done and everything. Is there any thing out of them that's more challenging, or that not as hard as the other, but any issue? Not issues. I can't think. Sorry, I'm wording that completely wrong tonight. Like, which is most challenging? Put it that way.
They all have their challenges, but some of the more challenging ones were My Fair Zombie was a musical theater. Sorry, not a musical theater, a musical comedy zombie period piece. So we had to costume people for the Victorian era. We had to write songs, and we had to build sets so that none of it looked contemporary. So that was super challenging. That was very, very challenging. The Westerns, of course, were difficult because trying to make everything look like of the period. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think those are the hardest. I mean, period pieces are always tricky, but I really enjoy them.
Do you have any other plans for like parodies to musicals in the future?
That's a good question. I don't think so, but some people have suggested that we should do Scary Poppins as a film, but I haven't really given it any serious thought, to tell you the truth. But My Fair Zombie, I love it. It's one of my favorite movies, but it didn't set the world on fire as far as sales go. So while I'm super proud of it, I don't think any distributor's lining up to make another one. So, I don't think I'll end up doing it, but I might. I might try another period piece someday, like a Universal monster type film set in the 30s or something. You never know.
Okay. Yeah, I'd like to see Scary Poppins. That sounds interesting. Can you tell us a little about that?
Yeah, it was basically, trying to explain, so it's kind of the story of Mary Poppins, but it's like, you ever notice in Mary Poppins nobody questions why this person is magical and where all these abilities come from? We kind of
Right.
take that to the logical step of going, well, why can she do all this? And isn't that strange? And so people start to question whether or not she might be a witch or something like that. And we answer it what we think, but I'm not going to say what it is. But
Right. Yeah.
there's witchcraft and magic and other strange comings and goings, and we had things like a toy box full of toys coming to life and all sorts of and magic tricks. Like we had live magic on stage, and it was pretty fun. And the songs, we had some great singers. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was exhausting.
Sounds like it. Hopefully that will become a feature. Who knows? I'd definitely check it out. So, and
Who knows?
and anyone who hasn't seen My Fair Zombie yet, it was mentioned earlier, it is on Tubi, or get the DVD, help support it, and get it out there. So, so what? How do you get your ideas? Do you have a certain process? Like I've heard some authors might write an ending first, or how do you come up with your ideas?
I think I usually come up with a title first. If you look at some of my titles are often very catchy or very like memorable, tongue-in-cheek kind of titles. So I usually come up with something like that first, and then it kind of hooks me, and then I come up with a story for it. I know that definitely happened for My Fair Zombie and Jurassic Shark and a bunch of things like that, where the titles popped into my head, and Homicycle. Things like that, where I then went, aha, I know what that movie's about. So that's generally how it happens.
Okay. Let me just check in the chat real quick. Everybody just saying hi. All right.
Hi, everybody.
I know there's another friend of mine's doing a show on with a musician as well. A lot of us, so the people are going back and forth. They'll probably hop on. So, because I normally do Saturday, but thank you for coming tonight, though. Of course, if there is anyone watching on Facebook, if you do want to leave a comment, be sure to click to say who you are, or else it'll say Facebook user. So, I saw that. I don't know if it's still going up or not, but you're working on Nano Shark. Can you tell us anything about that?
Yeah. So I had actually planned on retiring after Galaxy Warriors, and then kind of life gets in the way and makes it that I'm not going to retire after all. So Ron from SRS came to me and said, "Hey, how about some of those ideas you told me about before?" So I had this idea for a couple of years of because everybody, I'm always getting asked to do shark movies, and it's always the same sort of thing. Like, how do you make them bigger? How do you make them huge? How do you make them enormous? And I said, well, what if we did the opposite? And instead of making an enormous shark, what if we made it a tiny, tiny shark? And so then the idea of it basically is Fantastic Voyage meets Inner Space meets sharks. So so it's a shark gets injected into somebody's bloodstream, basically. And the style of the movie is kind of, we're doing it basically like a Zucker Brothers style humor. So it's going to be, if you can imagine all these things, it's Fantastic Voyage meets Inner Space meets sharks meets airplane. So it's going to be pretty crazy.
It sounds it. I just heard the title like Nano Shark. Like, okay. What was it saying? Something they're going to need a smaller boat instead of a bigger boat.
Yeah, Ron thought of that tagline. I liked it. It was pretty good.
So, was that still up, that Indiegogo, or has that ended?
I think it technically ended today, but I think it's one of those Indiegogos where you could keep donating after it's over. Because I heard some people asking me about it after the fact. So I think technically people can still contribute to it. And it's done really, really well. So that's great.
So yeah, a lot of shark movies have been coming out. What do you think the appeal is about sharks? And have you been a fan of shark movies prior to filming them?
It's a funny thing, I made Jurassic Shark in 2012, which is 13 years ago. No, wait, 11 years ago. My math is not very good. So 11 years ago, the only other shark movies around at the time, if memory serves, was the Asylum did the Mega Shark films, like Mega Shark versus something. And
Yeah.
then I think Chris Olin Ray did the two-headed shark attack, and Fred Olin Ray had done Super Shark, and that was about it. There was nobody else. And so I did Jurassic Shark in 2012, and then after that, the Asylum did the Sharknado stuff, which totally blew it all up.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, Jurassic Shark just exploded and became this crazy viral thing. And at the time, I wasn't really planning to make sharks into a thing. Like I was really just trying to emulate the Sci-Fi Channel's formula. So I did that, and then this thing went huge, and I ended up making Raiders of the Lost Shark a few years later. Oh, by the way, I'm pretty sure I was the first guy to ever use a parody title, like making it sound like a joke title of another movie, like Jurassic Shark, Jurassic Park. I was the first. So then I did Raiders, and Raiders was basically an answer to the fact that I was ticked off that the world wasn't going nuts over My Fair Zombie. So I told my wife, I said, I can make a shark movie and they'll want that. And she said, I don't care. And then, so I made it. And then she's like, well, or no, so then I pitched it, and the pitch worked. And then my wife said, well, now you have to make it, you dummy. So I went and made the thing. And then that went really well. And then I keep getting asked to make more and more. So why are they popular? I'm not sure. I think I had a theory that people enjoy movies that are dumb because, and I don't know if saying dumb is the right word, but movies that are silly or whatever, something that they feel like they're more intelligent than. So It makes them feel good. I don't know if that's accurate. That was a theory I had. But then again, then we had a screening of one of my shark movies, and people legitimately liked it. And I was almost taken aback in a way because I'm not certain what they like about it. But what I try to do with mine is I try to not make, people say, oh, they're so bad, they're good. I try to not worry about that. I try to make them as weird as I can. And then hopefully people will enjoy the fact that we're just playing weird. We're not trying to be dumb. We're not trying to be, we're not trying to make it bad on purpose. We're just doing, literally, someone tells you got to make Jaws for $1.50. What are you going to do? So we do the best we can. So, I mean, I don't live in a city that has an ocean.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to be creative, and we have to make sharks that float through the air, or sharks that fly in the bloodstream, or, all sorts of stuff like that. We have to think creatively. And if people want, it's my mentality is, if someone's going to give me, $10,000-$20,000 or whatever to make a movie, like one time someone gave me some money to make a superhero film, and someone said, that's not enough money to make a superhero film. And I said, it's not enough to make a superhero film, but I can make the best darn $5,000 movie, you'll ever see. Like, we try to make it entertaining no matter how much it costs. And that's kind of the way we go. So they may not look huge, but they're going to be a lot of fun and a lot of laughs, and the sort of thing that people could get a case of beer and get their friends over and just have a good time. So maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's what people like about them is the kind of group mentality of getting to get together, the way that my friends and I used to do with Mystery Science Theater,
Right. Just have a good time, which all of them, yeah. I had rewatched it. I guess the first time, maybe I just wasn't in that. You know how you gotta be in the mood to watch certain movies. But upon the rewatches of Ouija Shark, I really appreciate it. Thought it was hilarious. So
right,
yeah. Also, it's Ouija Shark, which I had remembered. Little spoiler alert, sorry people, but there's maybe like a little Doctor Strange reference when he does like the shield. And I think that's in the trailer, I believe. So that's not giving too much away. But
no, all right. The whole world knows about that by now.
I'm sure from the trailer and stuff too. Yeah. Oh, so was that intended to be like a little Doctor Strange nod?
Yeah, totally. Now with that movie, what was interesting about that movie was we were kind of making it, silly and low and no budget, obviously. And then we had a thing happen where one of our actresses had to leave suddenly because her grandmother passed away the day we were on set. So she had to leave. So then suddenly we kind of were like, all right, well, all bets are off. We're just going to make whatever we can make, because suddenly the whole plan was different. So I made it instead. It was going to be a lot of girls just in a house. And then we changed gears so that, okay, well, that girl's we got to make a reason for her to leave. She's going to come back later. Suddenly everything opens up. John, who played the father, was going to film his bits on his own. So we got together and talked about what they were going to be. And we just decided we were going to make it as silly as possible and nonsensical. And we needed to kind of fill in some of the holes that were going to be there because of this girl being absent. So that's kind of the way it all happened. And then, one silly thing led to another silly thing. So, next thing you know, we're like, hey, what if this happens? What if that happens? And then at the end, I'm like, wouldn't it be funny if it was all Donald Trump's fault? So, just little things like one thing led to another, and it just got goofier and goofier.
Right. So for the shark movies, obviously CGI is done, and there's other movies with practical effects. Do you have a preference one over the other? And what's the benefit of practical effects, do you think?
I like practical effects. I like being able to film it and then not worry about it instead of shipping it off to somebody and hoping that they get it right. We had CGI in Jurassic Shark and in Raiders. And then I had a puppet made that was going to be in Raiders, and it might be in one shot, but then we ended up using that for Ouija. And I'm not quite sure what's going to happen for Nano Shark yet, but I do have the puppet already, so that's straightforward enough. I could easily use it whenever I want to. So that's probably what's going to happen. I'll probably end up sticking with practical.
Okay. I know, I was going to say, like, I've heard some stuff they might use like a little tennis ball or a puppet or a person. And so out of those, which is the most that you use for the shark, or the puppets mostly?
Yeah, mostly puppets. The CGI stuff is always kind of bizarre because you tell people, like, okay, this is going to happen behind you, so react accordingly. And you hope that what the person sends you back from the CGI company is actually what you ask for. And I mean, it's not like I have the budget to ask them to do it again. So you got to hope. Whereas if I could just film it in camera with a puppet, if I don't get it right, I can do it again. And it works a bit better that way, I think.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. For Countryside, we'll go ahead and talk about that a little bit, about the hunters, killers. What was the inspiration for that?
For Countryside, I think I just wanted to try something a little different, because I did a lot of tongue-in-cheek stuff, and I still do, and that's my favorite. But at the time, I thought, well, I want to do something that's a little more serious and just kind of experiment and see how that goes. So my idea was to just the conceit of the movie was that it's a girl alone in the woods and she's in a bear trap. How do you deal with that situation? And it made it fairly straightforward for a good chunk of the movie to have a one actress stuck in a bear trap. She's working her butt off trying to, sell this fear and this pain. And that was a good chunk of the movie. And then, but you can't make an entire movie of just one person. So we figured people have to find her. And then, I thought, wolves are going to be after her. And then she gets rescued, but then the people who rescue her aren't who you think they are. And so I just tried to do something a little more serious and a little more, people sometimes say, why don't you do more blood and guts and stuff like that? And I said, well, it's not really what I'm known for, but I gave it a try and I thought it turned out okay. I thought the acting was good and the special effects were pretty good. And so I'm reasonably happy with it. I think the poster art came out I commissioned that, and that came out the way I wanted it to. So I'm okay. I'm reasonably pleased.
Are there any for that movie or any other movie that you can think of, any funny behind the scenes? And do you allow your actors to do any improv at all, or do you prefer strictly to the script?
We stick to the script. We don't really improv. I mean, I have a background in improvisation, but what I do is I figure that all that stuff out before the actors get involved. So sometimes if me and Trevor Payer are writing the script, we might improv some stuff and then write it down. But once it comes to the actors, they're doing what we say or what I say, because I've already figured it out. but that being said, I mean, I let the actors come up with suggestions. If they have any ideas, I'll take their ideas if they're good, and I'll, but so yeah, no improv really. But what we, as far as funny stories, I don't. Countryside wasn't really funny, but
You're in a trap.
there was a sad thing that happened in that movie where our lead actress ended up getting Lyme disease. She got bit by a tick.
Oh.
Yeah, so that was not cool. But we didn't know about how big a problem it was up here at the time. We were worried about poison ivy, and then she goes ahead and gets that, and we were like, I was very upset. And, but she's okay now, and now we know. The woods in Ontario are kind of littered with ticks.
So speaking of bloodsuckers, how about we move on to Attack of the Giant Leeches? How did you get involved with that? You didn't write that one, I don't think. You just directed that, correct?
I did not write it, but okay. At the time, I can't remember what year it is. I want to say 2008. But I'm going to say that. I was trying to find some way to make a project that would generate some press. Because this is probably like the early middle of my career so far. And I was trying to generate some press. So I thought, well, maybe it might be a good idea to do a remake of something that people know. So I was thinking of one of the public domain Roger Corman films, and I kind of was leaning towards Giant Leeches. And I talked to Jeff O'Brien, who I think wrote that one. And I said to him, hey, let's remake it, but let's modernize it, and we'll make it. Because the original one was funny because the woman character, all she really did was make coffee for the men. So we wanted to change that. So we updated that somewhat. And, it was, I think that was one of the first movies I did not act in. And there was a lot of obstacles in making that movie. I remember our effects guy quit right before we started filming. I'm trying to remember. There was a lot of challenges in that movie, but I pulled off what I wanted to do. We ended up getting a half-page article written about it in Rue Morgue magazine, and it got some attention. I'd love to remaster it but I can't find the original materials. But so the version that's out there is probably the final version there is. But I'm hoping someday I can find the materials and remaster the whole thing.
Okay. Let's see. Let's double check here. All right. Let's see. Ghastlies. Let's go ahead and talk about that. Sure. So was that inspired by Critters?
Yeah, kind of. It was around that time I was actually trying to find out who had the rights to Ghoulies. I wanted to make Ghoulies 5. But I couldn't figure out who owned the rights. It's because at the time I think Empire Pictures had licensed it to somebody like foreign. I'm not even sure. So I couldn't figure out who had the rights. So I was originally hoping to make Ghoulies 5.
Goosleys. That's it.
Goosleys. So then I just said, well, to heck with that. I'm just going to make my own thing that's inspired by Gremlins and Ghoulies and Critters and all that sort of thing. So I went to Chris Bavoda, who has since gone on to make a really good movie called Dead Dicks that came out recently. He wrote Ghastlies for me, and it's basically inspired by the 80s. And it's not really set in the 80s, but it's kind of like inspired to be looking like it's kind of in the 80s. And it's totally like we got homages like in the script that reference Gremlins and E.T. and a bunch of stuff, like little rubber monster movies are referenced all throughout. So it's kind of fun. What else can I say about that one? That's all that comes to mind. It was fun. It was a lot of fun to do the little critters. I'd love to, it'd be cool to get the rights to do Ghoulies 5.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're like pretty much like puppets from outer space. Who designed those?
John Migliore did those. I still have them somewhere in my basement.
I have the one woman in it. I forget some names watching all the movies, but she was like saying how it was a raccoon or whatever being attacked.
Oh yeah. Yeah, she's great. She's also in Raiders of the Lost Ark. Kendra, she's really fun.
Right.
Yeah, what was I going to say? I drew a blank on it. Anyway, yeah, that was supposed to be silly. Oh, I know what I was going to say. That was one of those ones where we intentionally, I mean, movies in the 80s used to cast 30-year-olds and people in their 20s as teenagers. So we do that because every single movie in the 80s did that, right? And then there'll be a lot of people on the internet saying, those aren't college students. It's like, well, of course not. Look at Grease. None of the people in Grease are teenagers. Like John Travolta, for crying out loud. Like, Revenge of the Nerds had 30-year-olds playing, it's ludicrous. So that's what we did. And some people got the joke. Some people didn't get the joke.
Yeah. Well, they do that in a lot of stuff, even Sharkenstein, even like they're supposed to be college.
Almost every movie does not cast teenagers as teenagers that you can think of.
I actually think that somewhat makes it more amusing too, because
I think so.
So, all right. The Pirate Snake Island. So for that, there was a little bit of stunt work. Do you enjoy doing your own stunts?
Not now. That was 2009, and at the time I probably moved a little bit easier than I do today. But yeah, it's funny. I did a really impressive stunt in that movie where I jumped off a roof. I actually jumped off a roof, and the way the camera guy filmed it though is he filmed it so tight that I might as well have jumped off a ledge, I might as well have jumped off a curb. You can't tell that it's a high roof, but I did it, and I wish it looked like I did it. But yeah, that was fun. I mean, the sword work was fun. The swords were actually made of metal, and there was one point where I nicked my thing just here, like the minutest amount, and it ended up bleeding all over my shirt, and before I even noticed. But it was a lot of fun. I mean, we choreographed sword fights, and I think that was inspired by there was a Christmas where I think we just stayed in and watched all the pirate movies. And then I thought, I want to make a pirate movie. So I literally just wrote a pirate movie. And, ours is kind of got a little bit of Star Wars influence that nobody's really noticed yet. So I'll let the people who watch it from now on say, what does he mean there's a Star Wars reference? And see if they pick up on it.
I'm trying to think, where was there a Star Wars? Now I'm going to have to rewatch it because I wasn't thinking of Star Wars.
It's basically the nature of the relationships.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It was what was I going to say about pirates there? Oh, when you had mentioned the stunt about jumping off the roof, I was kind of curious. I was like, how much of it did you jump off, and what you said, how the camera angle made it did look like it was.
That was disappointing when I looked at it, because it looks like, because he zoomed in, it looks like I jumped 3 feet, but I actually jumped off an entire building, for crying out loud.
That would have been awesome. Come on.
Yeah, I think so. It was scary as hell. I have a fear of heights.
Oh my gosh, I don't know what's wrong with me tonight. My brain's just going dead tonight. So let's move on to some superhero movies. You were Thor in Avenged Steel. How was that?
I guess I was. Yeah. So I got asked to make a movie. Well, first I made a superhero movie called Avenging Force the Scarab, which just got re-released on video on demand and streaming by SRS, retitled Black Scarab, and it's going to be coming out on DVD. Basically, DC's got a Blue Beetle movie coming out, so since I already made a Beetle superhero movie, we might as well try to jump on that. So I made that, and then this company came to me and said, hey, can you make one for me? And they had an idea to make a Thor thing based on this public domain comic from Fox Comics that was a Thor, because Thor is a god, so he's public domain. So we took the idea of Fox Comics from the 1940s and kind of ran with that a bit, but then we made it they already gave me a poster, so I kind of had to make the suit look like the poster. So we did, and the producer had all kinds of weird, stupid notes that he made me have to do. So there's a lot of things in that movie that I don't love because they weren't my idea. Like, actually, it's funny. When we wrote the script, we had a bunch of drafts written that we really liked. I think the third draft was our favorite. And then the guy who was funding it came to us and said, I think the opening scene should be a lot more like Terminator. And I'm like, what? So what I did, just to be a jackass, was I cut and paste the whole opening scene of Terminator. I pasted it into our script, and I changed the word Terminator to Thor. And he never noticed because he immediately asked for a new draft. So he never even read it. So I'm glad I did that because I didn't waste my time. So, but he had us do dumb things like the guy had electrical powers. And then he says, well, he needs to have a hammer. I said, but he never uses a hammer. Well, he has to have a hammer. Fine, he's got a hammer. The hero needs to kiss the girl at the end, but they're not in a relationship. It doesn't matter. They have to kiss at the end. Fine. I guess he kisses the girl at the end. It has to open with a slow Star Wars crawl at the beginning. Why? It just does. Okay, fine. And then Thor was actually supposed to be, I'd cast a bodybuilder to play Thor in the scenes set in Asgard. And we were actually going to film it on a location with this bodybuilder and all this other stuff. And then they actually came to me and said, no, we don't want to do that. We want it to be basically a JPEG. I'm like, what? I was all ready to film it on location with real people. And he's like, no, it's got to be this cheap looking thing. And I'm like, whatever. So it's your money. So, so I did it. And I tell everybody, if you're going to watch it, it's a good movie, but skip the first 10 minutes because the first 10 minutes is a waste of time. But after that, it's fun. It's a lot of fun.
So
that's
you've seen Terminator.
Hmm?
I was saying, sorry, I mean, I was like, if you've seen Terminator, you've seen the first 10 minutes. Don't worry about it.
Well, I mean, that didn't even make it in there. I mean, that would have been fun at least. But yeah, the first 10 minutes is literally a slow title crawl, some JPEGs, and then like opening titles. It's like, but that's what they paid for. So that's what they wanted. But that was the movie where, one thing we did was funny was I said, well, I can't make a Marvel movie, so we'll do silly stuff. So we had him like cook a hot dog with his electrical powers and things like that, just for fun. I mean, if you can't make a Marvel movie, make it funny. So that's what we did. Like I said, there was a ton of interference in that. But one thing I was really excited about that movie was that we were at least given a budget so that we could pay our cast and crew. So everyone got paid working on that, and I was hoping that it would, result in a lot more good faith in town and stuff like that. So that's kind of what we got out of that.
Let's see. Paul was saying that he did the same thing in the Scrim short that he did. He cut his finger and bled like a stuck pig. Oof.
Sometimes it doesn't take much, this one, like this area bleeds like crazy. And then like the head bleeds like, I don't know why, but there's so many blood vessels that people bleed like crazy. But it looks really scary, but it's, I lived. I'm glad you're okay.
Yes. Has there been, besides the tick, Lyme poison, and your cut, any other incidents ever happen on set, or mostly everything ran smoothly?
No, well, there was one dumb thing that happened where we were on Spyfall, which is our James Bond parody film. And there was a fight scene being choreographed, and I had choreographed it a certain way so that the actors would pretend to knock heads, but we angled it in such a way that they wouldn't even come close, right? But on camera, it looked like they did. And then, for whatever reason, the people who were doing it decided to disregard their directions, and they both just leaned forward and bam, banged heads, and one guy cracked here open and just bled. And I was like, just do what you're told, guys. Safety first, So that was the only time that something like that happened, but it was very minor and it didn't really hold us back too much. I mean, he had to get made up, and he was actually quite proud of the fact that he had a battle scar. So, but other than that, we're very, very safe and we're very careful, and we never take any chances because it's not worth anyone's pain or discomfort to make a movie.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of since Thor and stuff that is now in public domain, a lot of stuff recently
Mm.
has been coming out, like Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, etc. Is there anything that has now been placed in the public domain that you would like to do now that you're able to, or anyone's
Yeah,
able to?
there is one thing. It's not anything anyone would expect. It's not horror, and I'm not going to say what it is because I don't want anyone else to steal the idea. But it involves casting my children, and they're really excited at the possibility of doing it. And I don't know when I'm going to have time to do it, but there is something that recently fell into public domain that we're thinking about doing. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll just keep an eye out for that then. So
Mysterious.
sounds something that involves children. We'll do that. Could be about anything. So I hope that works out for you. Would that be a first family project if you do pull that off?
No, actually, the first one I would say, I mean, my wife has been my producer for most of my movies, but since we've gotten our kids, we did Conga TNT during the pandemic, and we actually did that one. That's a giant gorilla movie, and it's a comedy as well. But we did that kind of as a way to occupy the kids during the pandemic. It was not supposed to be anything that was really released or whatever. It was just going to be something for fun. And then the more we started doing it, the more we got other people involved, and people started filming a little bit of them, running away from a gorilla. And then it was really turning out well. So then SRS asked if they could distribute it. So we said, sure. So that came out, and that's basically a kid's film. You'd never know it from the cover because the cover looks like a big, scary gorilla, but it's actually a movie made and designed to be a kid's movie. So it's fun.
Yep, that was next on my list. So yeah, there's a few of them.
You'll
Like
like
I
it.
said,
You'll like it.
Yeah. So, and My Dead Girlfriend. What was the inspiration for that? Like any Weekend at Bernie's or any of those type movies?
No, well, Weekend at Bernie's. My Dead Girlfriend started off as an idea I had in like 2005 or something, and finally it had a different title. But then I thought of the title My Dead Girlfriend, and I met a writer friend of mine, and I told him what I wanted it to be, and he wrote it. And the idea was basically like, although I didn't realize it at the time, it's similar in some ways to Return of the Living Dead 3, which I'd forgotten about. I didn't realize it was like that. Or My Boyfriend's Back meets Three's Company.
Okay. My
So
boyfriend's back. I don't know why I said Weekend at Bernie's. I meant, but I see that. Yeah, My Boyfriend's Back. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of like that sort of thing. And the idea was basically like a zombie movie meets Three's Company was kind of our idea. And that movie did really well for us. It was 2006, and it came out through Tempe Video. And at the time, in this neck of the woods, it came out on Blockbuster Video. It got a lot of press. It played Fantasia Film Festival, so it did really well. I was really well known for that for a while, and I've had some filmmakers come up to me since then and say that the reason they got into filmmaking was because they saw My Dead Girlfriend. And I was like, well, that's really cool, and also it makes me feel old, but that's awesome.
Speaking of sort of Blockbuster Video and video stores, I'm assuming you may be more of a physical media person than streaming. I mean, streaming's nice, but I mean, me personally, I love having my physical collection too.
Absolutely. I still collect VHS, and I like DVDs and Blu-rays, and I like holding it in my hand. When I set out to do this, I didn't set out to be a thumbnail. You know what I mean? And I'm not I don't like. I would hate for anyone to describe me as a content creator because I don't consider myself to be a content creator. I'm a movie maker. So, but that's kind of the world that it's becoming, and it's kind of a bummer, but luckily all my movies are still coming out on physical media for now. But I mean, I don't want to knock it. I mean, being on a streaming service is pretty sweet. And, right now I think 24 of my movies are on, Tubi, which is kind of cool. Mm-hmm. But on the other hand, I mean, that's not why I got into it. So, it's great that people are seeing the films, but I would rather they physically can touch them. And, it's the same with my band. I mean, I prefer CD or a vinyl to just Spotify. You know what I mean? It's so impersonal and not as interesting. I mean, when I was a kid or even an adult, our Fridays we would go to Blockbuster and look at what new movies came out. I mean, that was a fun, community thing to do. And now to
Yeah.
just scroll through Netflix isn't the same at all. So I much prefer physical media.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I remember those were the days going to Blockbuster and checking out the new release wall.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I want to say
Totally.
also one of my favorite parts of the My Dead Girlfriend, the craziness of at the cabin, like trying to say where the girlfriend is. Oh, she's out. She's not feeling well. Walking in through the front door, going out the back door, saying you're getting her a beer, and then the excuse.
Yeah. Oh, I love that movie.
And then the excuse of
one of my.
oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say one of my favorite lines in that movie is, "Who throws an axe?"
Yeah, who throws an axe? The one that I was about to say, that's the second best line there, in my opinion. When the girl said, "Oh yeah, you're beating her," and you're like, "Yep, I beat her." Like you can't even hook a worm. Worms don't talk back.
Yeah, I know, that's funny. It's what's bizarre about that movie in a way is that's one of the first movies I didn't personally write the script. I wrote the treatment, I think, but I didn't write the script. So if I were to do that today, I probably wouldn't include that line, and I would take all the swearing out. There's way too much swearing in it for me now, like unnecessarily so. Because I wish I could show my kids because it's really funny, but I find the swearing excessive. But what are you gonna do?
Yeah, every time someone went wrong, fuck me. Yeah, but
yeah.
So.
Oh well, it's still funny.
Yeah. I mean, there's a point sometimes it can be over the top. I mean, a couple times, whatever, but sometimes, it can't get over. But
yeah. I mean, it's great for other people, just not my style.
Mm-hmm. So, but that's fun though. I mean, have something for everybody. So
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. So, Pirates, what else did we cover there? I'm trying to think. What are you most proud of that you want to share? That we should definitely check out.
I made a film called Murder in High Heels. That's a film noir. It's set in the 1940s, and we did like period costumes. It was filmed in black and white. We used methods of filming. I mean, it was shot digitally, but we did a lot of tricks that they would have done in the 1940s. So that was a really cool experiment, and the film turned out great. And that's on YouTube for free. And I don't know what's happened, but in the last couple of weeks, it's really blown up, and there's something like 40,000 views. But I'm really super proud of that. Between that and My Fair Zombie, I think those are my two favorites. Mm-hmm. I'm also super proud to have directed that. I had the opportunity to direct Peter Fonda in one of his last several movies. I directed him in a movie called Jesse James Lawman, and of course he's a legendary. He's Easy Rider. He got nominated for an Oscar, and I got to direct him, and that's definitely a career highlight.
Mm-hmm. Who would you like to work with that you haven't yet?
Michelle Bauer, who I just met, was super cool, and I think we'd have a great time. I don't know. That's a good question. I think I'd like to make something with some of the Saturday Night Live alumni, because I think something really funny with a lot of creative comical minds would be fun. But I don't know. I haven't really thought about it because I never really, I didn't really expect I'd ever get to work with Peter Fonda, so I never really thought about who else I might ever get to work with.
How'd he get involved? That's amazing.
Yeah, I'd made a Western called Hell at My Heels. Yes, Hell at My Heels. And I submitted it to a company who were going to distribute it. And then they said, hey, can you make a couple of Westerns for us? So I made, we made a movie called, it was called The Hunt for Johnny Ringo, but they released it under the dumb title of The Last Outlaw. And that's, I think, on Tubi as well. And that's got Michael Pare in it from Streets of Fire. So that was super cool to work with him. And so that's already awesome. And then they said, make another movie for us. So I made Jesse James Lawman, and this company hired Peter Fonda for that one, which was fantastic. So I flew down to Los Angeles and filmed him there. So that was a totally trippy thing. We filmed it right near not what are those famous rocks called in California? I can't remember what they're called, where they filmed Star Trek and stuff. I was probably a couple of miles from there. Oh, I can't think of the name. If anyone can think of the name, write the name down.
Yeah, I can't think of it.
But I went there, and we were about a mile away or 2 miles away filming that, and I actually saw tumbleweeds go by, and I'm Canadian, so tumbleweeds, we don't get a lot of those up here. So that was kind of neat. So he was legendary. He was absolutely a pleasure. And I talked to him on the phone the day before, and I'm pretty sure he was a little bit stoned. So I'm like, hey, he's totally Easy Rider, Oh. No, not Henry Fonda, but his son, Peter.
Oh, that's why that was my mom that said that. So she's checking it
out. He was also in Ghost Rider, and I think he got nominated for a movie called Yuli's Gold, which I never saw, but
that sounds
super
familiar.
Cool guy.
He's also done a couple of shorts, She-Rex. Can you tell us a little about that one?
Yeah, that was on some of the streaming services. It might still be. I don't know if it is or not, but I own the rights to that one, so maybe I have to look into that. That one was a dinosaur film that we did. Actually, I did that as an experiment to see how streaming would work. Because at the time I made that, streaming services were still pretty new, like Amazon streaming and all that. So I thought, well, I'll make a short, like 35-minute movie to see if that stuff's reasonably doable. So we made a dinosaur movie with a tribe of jungle girls. And the idea was basically like a Abbott and Costello kind of movie. And it turned out pretty good. It was fun. And we used Puppet for that again. And it took 2 days to film, something like that. And it's silly. And I think, maybe we should do a feature of that someday. I don't know.
So I know you said you shot the one movie in Los Angeles. What are some other locations, and do you have a favorite location that you filmed anything?
We filmed a movie called Iron Soldier in 2010, and that was at the place called the Diefenbunker, which is a Cold War atomic bunker, basically. Here we're in Ottawa. Ottawa is the city, like basically it's like your Washington. And so our prime minister would have had to flee to this place if there was ever an atomic war. So he never did. So now it's a tourist attraction. So this underground bunker, I went to them and I asked, hey, can I film this Iron Soldier movie there? And they said, hey, as a matter of fact, we want to make a short film to promote our establishment. And they let me have the location for free. And then on top of that, I got paid to film this movie for them. So I made a movie called 0 Hour for them and the Iron Soldier for me, both shot in this bunker. And it was just amazing. It was this, we're totally underground. Very, very bizarre. It was all this Cold War furnishings and things like that. And at one point for their short, we had actors smoking cigarettes or pretending to. So we had a fog machine going off to simulate the smoke. And at one point during the filming, an alarm went off and suddenly all these glass walls come like shutting down. We're like, what? We were basically locked in because the smoke triggered these alarm systems. And the person who owned the place or whatever was like, oh, I didn't even know those still worked. So she went and turned them off and let us out. But it was pretty cool. It was really trippy.
Be trapped underground. That'd be horrible. Like, oh, what's going on?
Yeah. It was a little bit scary for a few minutes, but I haven't seen Iron Soldier for streaming. It might be on YouTube, but that exists. I also filmed that one with Joe Estevez, who's Martin Sheen's brother. He was in that one. He was a lot of fun.
You've also, I know he was in Bonesetter. I forget. I think it was the first or second one. He was the mayor, Lloyd Kaufman. How was it working with him?
Yeah, Lloyd's funny. I think I first met him in like 2001 or something. I interviewed him for a local news channel or something like that. And then so I said, hey, if would you like to be in my movie, The Bone Setter? And he goes, yeah, if you're ever in New York City, come on down. And so in 2002, we went down to New York to film his cameo for The Bone Setter, and he played the mayor. And for some reason, we put him in front of the. I was too intimidated to ask him to take down all his Toxic Avenger stuff, but so he's very silly in a movie that isn't really intentionally silly. But it was cool.
Right.
Like at the time, I was just happy to have a name in it, right? And also appearing in that movie, this might not mean anything to you, to the Americans, but there's a girl who plays a reporter in it. Her name was Arissa Cox, and she's currently the host of Big Brother Canada. So she's in that movie as well. It's Big Brother Canada, right?
I think so.
Yeah, Big Brother Canada. And so that's kind of a neat little cameo as well, if anyone notices. And that was my second feature film. So that was really cool. That one's based on a like a boogeyman story that people in Quebec actually tell their kids. Like, if you don't go to bed by 7 o'clock, Le Bonhomme Setter or the Bone Setter will come and get you. So I made that in 2002. And then in 2005, we made the sequel to Bone Setter Returns.
Yeah, I was going to ask.
Is in that one.
Yeah. I was going to ask how you came up with that story. So it's an actual story there in Canada that people tell their kids?
Or they used to, like back in the olden days, they used to say that this, this boogeyman would come and break your bones or take you away in a sack if you didn't, if you weren't in bed at 7 o'clock. It's a cool story. And then we made the sequel in 2005 because the first one did really well. And then I tried on occasion to remake it as a really, higher budget, more serious kind of thing. And it's never really happened. I went and pitched a lot of companies on it, and I made a short just a few years ago, actually, called A Tale of the Bone Setter. That's I think on YouTube. And that one's really, really cool. And so the remake never really happened, but you never know.
Okay, so the Tale of the Bone Hunter, that's prequel to it.
It's not really a prequel. It's kind of I guess kind of a sequel in a way, but then again, it also kind of has nothing to do with it in a way. It explains the origin from a different person's point of view. Is it called A Tale of the Bone Setter? I think it's called A Tale of the Bone Setter. Now I'm blanking on it. I'm pretty sure. It's on YouTube anyway.
I think that's what it was when I was looking through Internet Movie Database. You said 2000. When was it you said for that one? I'm just looking at the years here.
Maybe 2015 or 2016 or something like that.
Let's see. Creature from Cannibal Creek, Heavy Metal Werewolf. Oh, okay. It's got you listed first as actor and then director. It's got all of them there.
Yeah, I didn't act in it.
That's probably why it wasn't showing up. Oh, well, but yeah, we'll just stick with that for now. I'm not going to.
Yeah. It's on YouTube anyway. It's pretty good. It's got Celine Fillion, who's also in Jurassic Shark. She's in there. A boy named Sam Ash Arnold, who's a fantastic actor who went on to be the lead in the Netflix series. And he went on to be in Don't Be Afraid of the Dark. He got his first. That was his first film. Was the short, the Bone Setter short.
Okay. Who was he in Are You Afraid of the Dark? Or was it just an episode or one of the Campfire Kids?
There's the most recent one. Is it just Don't Be Afraid of the Dark? I can't remember. I'm sorry. I'm hoping my representative over here knows. But Sam Ash Arnold is his name. And he was in a show called Best Worst Weekend that was on Netflix. And the most recent, I think it was Don't Be Afraid of the Dark. That was on was it on Netflix? I never watched it. I don't have Netflix. But anyway, yeah, he's had a great career. He's been super, super cool. Great guy. He's going to college now, but the Bone Setter short was his first ever film, and he came out and saw the screening of my Galaxy Warriors film, and he's been his parents raised him right.
Sounds good. Since you also did theater and everything, let's bring up Final Curtain. So I guess that was theater-based,
Sure.
inspired when you wrote that.
Yeah, that was I want to say 2005. That one was a weird one that didn't turn out exactly. It's an interesting story though. The plan behind that was I wanted to film a movie in one location with multiple cameras, and at the time I was doing a lot of theater, so I knew I had access to the Playhouse. So I said, all right, well, we're going to do it. We're going to shoot it in 5 days. I think it was 5 days, 4 or 5 days, and with multiple cameras. So we would have all our coverage done in fewer takes. And then what happened was the first weekend, the guy who came out to be our sound man was brand new. I didn't know him. He came. What do you call it? Someone referred him. So he showed up and he ended up putting his microphone jack in the headphone jack, and he was drunk. I didn't even know. People were trying to keep me from knowing he was drunk, and I didn't know. So then I got the first weekend's footage, and the sound was all garbage. So I kind of had to rejigger the second weekend to make it all work. So the movie was supposed to be a full feature, and as it turns out, it's around 50, 55 minutes. And it came out on the bonus. It came out as a bonus feature on the DVD for the Bonesetter Returns. So that was all right. I mean, it came out, and it's probably like 75% what I had in mind. But Tempe put it out at the time, and now it's out again on streaming. There's a couple of cameos after the credits, I believe, of the recently departed Robin Griggs from Another World, and J.R. Bookwalter turns up in it. I feel like there's a third one. I can't remember who. It's been a lot of years, like almost 20 years.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Kingdom of the Vampire, and I think there was that one, Blood Red Moon, a couple of vampires ones. I guess you said you've always been a fan of like Universal Monsters and vampires. So how is that finally producing a vampire film?
Yeah, so there's a couple of different things in that I could go on about. The first one, Kingdom of the Vampire, I'll bring that up because that was a good one. That one is a remake of a J.R. Bookwalter film that he made in the 90s. And he was planning to make a remake for some time, and then I came to him and said, I want to remake it. And I probably pitched him something. I can't remember exactly. And he said, okay, cool, you can remake it. And I was super stoked to do it. And we made it very serious and dark, and about a twisted relationship between a man and his a boy-like man who is being kept emotionally immature by his vampire mom. And I think it's one of my faves. It's in my top 5. I really like how it turned out. It just recently got a Blu-ray release from Makeflix.com, and the Blu-ray is pretty cool. You guys should check it out. They recolored everything and remastered it, and it turned out really nice. And I really quite enjoyed the performances in that, and I think the script was really nice, and I think that's definitely worth checking out. Now, the Blood Red Moon is a different story altogether. At the time, I don't remember. There was around the time I did Blood Red Moon, I think I did around 4 movies in 1 year, something like that. So I was just kind of on a cycle of just go. So at the time, the second Twilight film was coming out, which I don't know what it was called, but something with moon.
New Moon, just New Moon.
New Moon. And so I said, well, you know what? That's a lot of people spending money on Twilight, so let's try to get some of that Twilight money. So at the time I was talking to Kevin Lindenmuth, and he said he'll write it. So he wrote something, and I filmed that very quickly. Brain Damage Films put it out, and that one did very well. I mean, as it's not one of my best movies by a long shot, but it continually gets watched, and continually I keep hearing things about it. So Twilight fans don't love it, but they watch it, so I appreciate their. And then I did another vampire movie, kind of. what do you call it? IMDb has the completely wrong year, but I did a kind of a vampire thing called Planet Blood. And the idea, and Planet Blood was a thing where it was early in my career, like the first couple of years of my career. And a company came to me and said, hey, we're doing a 50 pack of DVDs of vampire films. Do you have a vampire film? And I said, yeah, but I didn't. So they said, okay, cool. Send it to us and we'll put it on. We'll sign you a contract and we'll get you on this set. So I started filming that day. My wife came home from work and I said, I got good news. I got good news for you or whatever. I don't remember how I put it, but I said, I got signed to do a vampire film. And she goes, well, when are we going to do that? I said, I've already started. I filmed 20 minutes of it today. So I literally filmed 20 minutes of it of me acting all by myself. And I had the movie done in a few days and I sent it off to them. And it's awful. Don't get me wrong. It's not good. But, I was young and I was trying to get product and trying to get experience and stuff like that. So I did it and I pulled it off and I made this movie in no time and it came out and it's not very good, but it's out there. And then as luck would have it, IMDb for some reason has it as being a completely different year than the year I actually filmed it, and you can't correct it for whatever reason. So, but there it is. It exists.
So since you said there was that year where you were pushing out like 4 movies or so, now do you think as a director and when you do your movies, is there any benefits to getting a movie out quicker, or do you wish on some of them you spent more time on? What's your thought process on that?
Well, the movies that I really love are the movies I spent the most time on. So is there any benefit to rushing? I don't recommend rushing. The only time, and I don't think I ever really rushed per se. I think I did. Quality movies take time, and movies that are not as high quality don't take as much time. So,
Right.
The movies that took the less amount of time, I think lesser of, I guess you could say. So there's always a benefit to pre-production, cast it properly, get costume it properly, do everything right. But when I was young, I took on jobs. There were some jobs I took literally just for the money, and I feel no shame of that. Like some people now want to kind of crap on some of the things I did, but literally, I made some movies that I'm like, you know what, that movie paid for my kids' teeth getting fixed that year, so who cares, I mean, it sounds bizarre, but I'm not. I've made some movies because of the artistic value, and I made some other movies because I needed home renovations. So
it is what it is. It's a job, so it turns out how it is.
Yeah,
but that's interesting. I mean, I just wonder about that sometimes because I am a fan of lower budget movies. There's nothing wrong with it. I mean, they're entertaining, stuff to watch, but it's always interesting to learn what, directors and certain people on the other side of the camera think and what their thought process is there.
The problem is that there's some people out there who are just trying to pump out movies just for the sake of pumping out movies. What I do, I hope I do, is that I if I have to make a movie cheaply and quickly, I'm going to make it funny. So I'm going to try to entertain everybody. So I never make a movie. I never make a movie thinking this is not going to be entertaining. So even if I know it's not going to turn out, as good as My Fair Zombie, I'm at least going to make people laugh, and that's my intention. So, I'm not just trying to fill a timeline with 75 minutes and go done. Give me my paycheck, which some people do. There's a lot of guys who make no budget movies out there who are just pumping out garbage because they don't care. They just want to look like they have 100 movies on their IMDb's for whatever reason. That's not what I do. I'm trying to be entertaining at least. I have a background in entertainment for decades, so I'm not going to stop now. So if I have to make a movie that costs $1, it's going to be the funniest $1 movie you ever saw.
Okay. So for Feral Man, I know you acted in that one. But again, I didn't check. Did you write that one as well, or just act and direct in that one?
Yeah, that was my first feature film.
Okay. Oh,
So that was 2001, I think. And at the time, I was just trying to start to get into it, and I was looking around to see what other people were doing. And there's a lot of a lot of movies were still coming in on VHS at the time, and a lot of the stuff that was happening around that time was vampires and slashers and things like that. And I was trying to think, well, what can I do that's a little bit different? So I thought, well, no one's doing werewolf movies, and then I realized the reason no one's doing werewolf movies is because werewolf costumes, need to look good, and if you're doing it cheaply, they look terrible. So I made my movie more about a guy who's suffering through the mental illness of lycanthropy, and it's kind of more of a psychological thing. And it was my first feature, and I've had a lot of people say that it's got a lot of heart, and I believe that. It's not the highest budget movie. It's not the most acclaimed movie, but it's got probably the most heart, I think, the Feral Man.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Hepchita.
What advice do you have for other filmmakers?
Well, I don't know, man. Things are changing all the time. It's my advice, like, just general advice. I don't know. I mean, about I have a bunch of I've taught classes on different things, but advice as far as making feature films, let's say.
Sure.
I would say just try to do it. A lot of people will tell you can't do it. A lot of people will tell you it's impossible. People have been telling me it's impossible to make a feature film for 23 years, and yet I keep doing it. So I do the impossible every single year. So it's not impossible. Just set your expectations at first. Set your goals realistically. Film with locations that you have access to, that use props and costumes that you have access to. If you try to film something in an airport hangar on your first try, but you live in an apartment, that's maybe try to scale it down a bit and film something that's set in an apartment. Set your expectations. Don't be afraid to fail. You can make a crappy movie, and you don't have to put it out. You can sit on it and then try again. Don't let the internet tempt you that you have to release everything all the time. If you want to practice with short films and they suck, you don't have to put them out. It's okay. But I know a lot of people are obsessed with just putting content out, but you don't need to worry about it. Filming digitally is a lot cheaper than shooting on film. So get good at it. Practice. Make your compositions interesting. Don't film two people sitting on a couch for an entire movie. People do it all the time. It's boring. You're better than that. Do something else. How's that?
It's not Beavis and Butthead sitting on the couch watching music videos. Yeah.
That's right.
So when you're not making movies, what do you like to do in your spare time?
I don't really have spare time, but I do, like, between being in Gelatin Skeleton, like, I'm producing, not producing, I'm basically managing that whole situation. So I'm trying to get us on tours, and we're going to the UK this summer to play a short tour, and we're playing on a festival. And then I'm trying to get a tour going for that as well, for Ontario, and maybe hopefully some shows in the States. So I'm working on that while I have to film 2 movies within this summer coming up. Nano Shark and something that hasn't been announced yet, which is going to be super cool. And then I bring my kids to soccer, and I try to figure out how to cook really good stuff with this Instant Pot. And I guess that's my hobby, being a good dad. That's about it, I guess.
Oh, congrats on your tour.
Thanks, Peggy. Thank you.
Let's see.
I hope if anyone's curious about Gelatin Skeleton, I hope you check it out. It's fun 80s inspired hair metal, basically.
I'm sure a lot of people like that 80s band there. I know my mom will definitely check you out for sure.
Nice.
And I will too, of course. Yeah. So let's see. Let's see. We're coming up, over an hour and 20 minutes here. I'm just trying to think if I think we covered a lot. Is there anything else you want to share or any messages you want to leave us?
No, I guess check out the Great Chance Films YouTube channel. Like I said, I have 22 or 23 films on Tubi TV, and SRS Cinema is going to be putting out a bunch of stuff. So check those guys out.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, no, I think we pretty much summed it up.
So, all right. Well, thank you very much. A lot of good insight. I appreciate it. And I guess once some new stuff comes out, you're always welcome back on, and we'll talk more. And if you just want to stick around for a minute. And
thanks so much, man. I appreciate it.
All right, everyone. Thanks for tuning
Awesome.
in. And I'll let everybody know what's going on in the future. All right. Take care, everyone. Bye.